Greetings, my scattered brothers and sisters in the Lord. Trust you know the Lord is with you wherever you find yourself scattered today, and that you know that his presence with you is more than enough for whatever you might face today. We are with Jesus. He's in Jerusalem. He's with his disciples. They are on their way back to the temple. And you'll recall that Jesus went to the temple, and on his way he found a fig tree that had no fruit on it. And he said, may no one ever eat fruit from you again. And then he goes to the temple. It's supposed to be a house of prayer. And instead he sees a lot of business being conducted and nobody praying. And he says it's become a den of robbers. And so he flips some tables over, stops the business that's going on, and then he leaves. And now it's the next day, and they're on their way back, and the disciples see the fig tree, how it is withered from the roots. And Jesus begins to teach them about prayer. And the thing that we've kind of looked at is that the disciples really take the place of the temple. That instead of the temple being the house of prayer, now the disciples become that house of prayer, that body of people that prays. And so we looked at that. But today I want us to look a little bit more closely at the words of Jesus as he teaches the disciples about prayer. So it's Mark chapter 11, and we'll pick it up at verse 20. As they passed by in the morning, they saw the fig tree withered away to its roots. And Peter remembered and said to him, Rabbi, look, the fig tree that you cursed has withered. And Jesus answered them, have faith in God. Truly I say to you, whoever says to this mountain, be taken up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will come to pass, it will be done for him. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. And whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you your trespasses. Now, I think we need to realize that Jesus teaches in hyperbole. And so when he says, whoever says to this mountain, be up and moved, and believes in their heart and has faith, it will be done. Another place Jesus uses that kind of mountain imagery is over in Matthew 17:20. And there he says, if anyone has the faith of a mustard seed and says to this mountain, move from this place to that place, it'll be done so. And so using kind of this mountain moving imagery, as a way to talk about the power of prayer. And it's hyperbole. Jesus is, overstating, if I can say it that way, the power of prayer, the significance of prayer. And then Jesus, goes on to say that whatever you ask for, believe, and you will have received it. Now, I don't know about you, but I wrestle with this. And I wrestle with this, I think, in a few practical examples. So like years ago when my mom died, she died of cancer, and we prayed, and I believe that we had the faith of a mustard seed for sure, if not more. And yet my mom was not healed. My mom died. At the same time, this past January, I believe we had the faith of a mustard seed, and we were praying for my grandson, Cal, and the Lord miraculously saved him. The doctors and nurses could not explain it in terms of medically, how was it that he didn't die on the operating table. I don't think we had more faith with Cal than we had with my mom. And so how do I work with that in terms of Jesus saying that if you have faith and if you believe in your heart, you will receive your prayers? And yet with my mom, died at age 49, kind of taken from us, if you will. And Cal, 5 weeks old, his life is spared. And so what do we do with that? Well, honestly, I don't know, but this is how I look at it. That what Jesus is getting at is that we need to live our lives open to what God wants to do, rather than simply calculating what we can do. And so the mountain is, I think, a kind of a way to talk about God doing what only God can do. And us coming to the place where we're praying, God, do what only you can do what you know is best to do, God, we're trusting you. We can't move the mountain ourselves. That in our calculations, there's no way for us to move the mountain from here to there. In our calculations, there's no way for us to, throw the mountain into the sea. That God, we're praying and trusting you to do what only you can do. And we are opening ourselves up to God's work rather than living life kind of closed off to what God might do, kind of closed off to what God and only God can do, and simply living at kind of a flat human calculating level. So that to me is kind of the call, that if we're going to be a praying people, then it's not just God help us to do what we can do, but it's God do what only you can do, and help us to be open, help us to have imagination for your impossibilities, things that aren't possible for us but are possible for you. And then Jesus goes on to talk about how if you have anything against anyone, forgive them, so that our Father in heaven can forgive us our trespasses. And again, if we're going to be a people in connection with God, open to what God wants to do, in communion with God, then we can't let anything hinder that. And when we have an obstacle between us in one of our relationships to where we're unforgiving, then that becomes a roadblock, if you will, in our relationship with God. So all of this teaching about prayer, if I were to kind of summarize it, it's about being open to God and the impossible things that God wants to do. It's not simply, God, help me to do my stuff better. It's not simply, God, help me to do what I can do. But it's really opening ourselves up to, God, what do you want to do? What are the impossibilities that you want to get done? Help me, Lord, to be open to all that you desire. Maybe the beginning place is whatever the mountain might be. God, it's your mountain. Here I am. Use me however you see fit, but it's your mountain. Do with it what you desire to do. So wherever you find yourself scattered today, yes, pray with faith. All you need is mustard seed size faith. It's not about somehow I'm going to get this done. It's about being open to the impossibles that God will get done, that only God can get done. Well, God bless. Have a great day, and may the Lord help us to pray with faith, trusting God to do what we cannot do. God bless.